recording. Let me, if you guys are ready, I can bring him in.
Good. Reggie, welcome.
Hello.
It is 6:01 and the time is yours. So you've got 20 minutes to roll through these applications, and let's include the choir's application as well.
Include the choirs?
Yep.
Oh, I took them out of the presentation.
Well, it's okay. We've got the applications here. So if you want to just kind of give us a
Yep, I can do that.
brief thing, that'd be okay.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Well,
Sorry, I'm
how is
just.
everyone? Great to be here and appreciate your time and the opportunity to make our presentation for this year's park tax grant application. So can you advance it? Are you able to put it in the slide mode, Camden?
Yeah, I did, but I bet it's sharing the wrong. That puts like it on a couple screens. So let me
Oh,
change
okay.
sharing it.
No, that's fine. That's cool. I can do it that way if that's the way you need to do it.
Oh, let's get it here.
There we go. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right. So as we discussed in the previous meeting, I went over all of our updates of our status, but I just wanted to quickly review. We've got the changes in place. Really excited with our programs, with the progress we're making and the way that the groups are being able to work together more, do better marketing and advertising. They're focusing on being more creative with their events and thinking out of the box, getting some guest artists or special strategies where they're able to make a difference. And we've really, just in a nutshell, we've really tried to, we weren't sure what the park tax would funding would be like this year. So I asked everyone to tighten their belts and to try to be as, and at the point that we put it together, we didn't know, governor hadn't made his announcement. We didn't know if a new strain would come in and COVID would attack us again. So we took the conservative approach this year, and I'll show you as we go through the different groups. But, and like I mentioned, just to review the COVID impact, for this current year, we started back up in July and all programming was going by September in kind of a patched together fashion. We tried to get everybody performing at the Valentine because we had control of that. And we were just very strict with the state's regulations and masking and social distancing, and it allowed us to get our events going again when a lot of other groups weren't. And we were very grateful for that. So our goal this year is to continue to build and rebuild from the crazy 2020 year. Our focus on fundraising is, our main goal is to have a diversified revenue strategy. And there's 3 areas that we're focusing on to do that. As I mentioned, we've got the board now up to 8 members. Our goal is to have 10 or 12, very broad group with a lot of different strengths and connections and access to information. And our goal is to bring in a lot of creative people with a lot of good resources. Our development plan, we've applied for over 24 arts grants in the year 2020. We kind of do that by the calendar year. And our total target for 2021 is 40 applications this year. And we just want to keep building that. And hopefully with COVID over, the grantors will start focusing on arts organizations again instead of humanitarian and health needs. So we're excited to hopefully move in that direction. And our goal is to reduce dependency on park tax funds by another 30%. We've already reduced them a little this year. It would have been more if we hadn't had COVID. But that's I think a good stretch, target for creating a more diversified strategy is to set a target and shoot for that. So if you move to the next slide. So this is our bi-seasonal strategy. We have a summer season. Our fall season actually kicks it off, but because of park tax grants, I put it on this way. The History and Heritage Pageant is happening this year with the funds we already had. It's happening in June, so it won't be part of the new year. But starting in July, and we have 5 different art summer camps this year. Big diversity of summer camps. So 3 of them are in the current year. The other 2 will be in the 2021-2022 season. And then we have the Still Days events that we've met with the chamber, and we're back on track with both Symphony and the art show. We have a summer youth production planned again this year, like we always do, and a summer community theater production. And we're shooting for the Americana Festival as well. And then this fall season, which is September through May, I just grouped them so that you could see kind of a single list of what we're going through. Symphony, Vivace, the chorale, and youth choirs. We have the visual and literary arts classes, of course, going all year long. Christmas in the Rotunda Art Show, then the fall theater production. We'll have 3 Christmas concerts around the holidays. And then in the January, or usually around February, we have January is the youth theater production, and then we have 3 concerts around February. Spring youth theater production again. The January is the teen one. The spring one is for the young children, and then we're also planning a community theater production. I'll talk about that, and then 3 concerts as well in the spring. So pretty big lineup that we're shooting for. So the community theater. Start off with them. Their summer production will be Wizard of Oz. Fall production is to be Sweeney Todd around Halloween. Spring production is Mamma Mia that I just mentioned. And then their goal this year is to support the youth theater camps. As I mentioned, we're really working to have the adult groups work with and support the youth groups more. And as I mentioned before, we've got the 4 areas. So the theater, instrumentals, choirs, and visual arts, adult and youth in each area. So our revenue goals for the community theater, this current year, we held 2 productions. We're targeting with each group to bring in, with those 40 applications, some grants for each different production, each different program. So our target for the community theater is 10,000 in grant writing. And then our park grant request is 94,200. So if you look to the left, there's the 3 productions we're putting on. So we're estimating for park tax funds to be about 30,000 per production. Okay. Some of those, the summer one especially, will probably exceed that, which means we'll have to come out of our own funding to cover the difference. But we want to be conservative. Last year, actually that number is wrong. The 30,950, it should have been 121,905. That was the youth theater's number. It got plugged in there. Last year we asked for 121,905. We cut it back to 94,200. So if you'll note that change, if you're following. Next slide. I'm sorry, before you go. So our revenue goal, separate from the park tax, separate from the grant writing, is this current season we brought in with the community theater 76,195. Our target is 114,292. Okay. And any questions, you guys can jump in. Next one for the youth theater is they've got Mary Poppins Jr. lined up. They're still lining up the winter and spring productions. But for this summer, they've got Jungle Book Kids for both camps. And then they've got their classes that they hold. Our revenue goals for this coming year, grant writing target for the youth theater is 5,000. Park tax grant request was this year was 28,050. Last year was the 3950. So once again, we dropped it down a little. Our current season, we brought in 46,112. Our goal for this coming season is 55,334, which I think is about a 20% increase. So we're working with the groups to kind of really watch their numbers and think about targets and thinking about setting some stretch goals. And our goal is to get better and better at our metrics and tracking and setting good goals each year. Next slide. How's my time? I don't have my, oh, there we go. So for the Symphony, they're back on track with the concert, as I mentioned, for Steel Days. They usually do their Salute to Youth in the spring, but because of COVID, they had to move it because it got canceled last year. They had to move it to their fall concert, and they found out that the kids and everyone, the musicians and everybody, really liked having that in the fall. They've always had it in the spring, so it's going to be in the fall from now on. Seems to work better with everybody's schedules. And then they'll have their normal Christmas concert, winter concert, and spring concert. They're working on the themes for each of those currently. Their revenue goals are grant writing. We're shooting for a $5,000 grant for them. Our current grant request this year is $44,242. Last year we asked for $65,125, so they cut back quite a bit. Our current season year to date, though, if you look at that, was only $1,844.91. That's an impact of COVID, directly impacted them pretty strongly. And our target goal for this coming year is $2,458 just in box office for them. Youth choir, or excuse me, youth orchestras. They have another summer camp planned. They do a big summer camp. They're getting Ryan Murphy back this year, who's the associate director with the Tabernacle Choir. He was with us last year. He got a huge response from the kids and parents. So that's planned again for this year with him and some other key coaches and conductors. Then they have their fall concert in November, winter concert in February, and a spring concert in April. And the goals for them is we're shooting for a $2,500 grant. Their PARC grant request was $15,950, and then from last year, their request was $15,265. So about the same this year. Their needs haven't changed much. And then this current season, they've brought in $11,173. And the goal is, I think that's a 20% increase, 13,408 for next year. So just to keep building each year. Next group, visual arts. So we're really excited. Those of you who know Heidi, she had to stop and go to work full time, or almost full time with the schools because of COVID. And but we've got a new artistic director and program manager for the visual arts. She's a dynamo, really energetic lady with a great both visual arts background and experience working in a nonprofit setting. So we're really excited to have her back. So and Heidi's going to be helping out a little bit throughout the year as she can. Still interested in helping. So we've got the Still Days Art Show for the next season, the Christmas and the Rotundo Art Show. We have the Seniors Art Club. The seniors have been really hesitant to come back after, with the COVID, but we're getting word that they're ready to, now that the vaccines are out, that we'll be starting that back up soon. We've had a couple coming for the last few months, but we had 6 or 8 coming in the past every week. We're shooting for 20 visual art classes as a minimum. We have some art class projects, and then we had to cancel the illustration series. We're going to try to bring that back this year and pull it off now, hopefully without having to deal with COVID. Our target grant for this group is $10,000. Our grant request is $10,395. Last year we asked for $38,850. And this season, our goal for this year in revenue is 7,715. That was our actual income for the year before. So you see, they probably got hit the hardest in terms of income losses, was the visual arts. We're not sure why, but it just seems like fewer people were interested in taking art classes even when COVID started to open up. So year to date, they've only brought in 1,200, and plus losing Heidi, we've had some changes in the guard, and that's affected it some too. Next slide is the youth speech contest. The normal process for her that we do every year with this event. Our target for grants is the 2,300 to cover the sponsorships. Does not come out of park tax funds. Donations or grants, one or the other or both. Our grant request is 2,460. Last year we asked for 3,400, and they don't bring in any income usually, but we're going to set it up this year to have a registration fee. And so we're estimating to have about 30 kids, which would be at about $10 each, a $300 income. Next slide. We don't do the, we're not making a request for the History and Heritage Pageant, like I mentioned, but we are planning on having it this season. And next season, we're going to have it, but we're going to see if we can't pull off the budget without park tax funds, like we do the festival. So that's our goal. So for administrative, if you'll notice, the administrative request is quite a bit higher than what we asked for last year. And that's just because in setting all these goals for the organization and for the programs, that's where the biggest need is most of these things that are needed to be done are driven by TAF, not by each program individually. It's just the reality of it. And I think it's similar to for-profit organizations. You have a lot of overhead. We just, as a nonprofit, don't shoot for the profits and gains, can't do that, but that doesn't change the fact that we have overhead. And I'll mention again what our consultant said to us was that when they heard that we had the park tax when we first brought them on, they said, great, then your administrative costs are covered. And then you don't have to ask the foundations for those funds. And we said, well, sort of. The city kind of doesn't like to do the administrative cost either. And we work with that. So I understand the issues around this, but we're just being honest. This is where we're at. And we really believe that with these items over here on the list, on the left, we feel that all of these issues on the left will drive growth for TAF, and that will produce the growth in each program and our overall diversified income strategy, which is the biggest piece, obviously, to reducing the park tax dependency. So all of these goals are very well spelled out for us in our organization, and they're all driven by the need to manage the process. So that's my pitch. And then you guys, if you need to cut that number like you did last year, we'll work with what we get. But that's where we are. So that's our presentation. I got 1 minute left, but if you guys have any questions, went through it pretty quick with all the groups, but we're really excited. We have made some changes. You've heard about some issues in the last few days, but we feel very confident we can work those out and move forward and just start really rocking it and just building and growing this organization. We have a lot of ideas that we're going to get started this year that we think will add to our revenue strategy. It'll add to our offerings to the community. But we'll work on those with our own funding to get them started, and then report on them this time next year. So for us, it's just onward and upward. We just really want to create a strong, confident organization that gives a lot of people an opportunity to share their talents, and at the same time offer a lot of programming events and activities for the community's benefit as well. And I would just like to mention, if nobody's got a question right off the bat, we've got a meeting planned tonight with all of our youth programmers, program managers, and our youth coordinator. I think I mentioned to you guys that we recruited. She's a full-time, or a full volunteer. And we're really excited to expand our focus in, especially after COVID, supporting at-risk youth. And all of our youth programs are going to be working with her to work with the city to get those things going. So anyway, that's our presentation.
Questions from the group? Cam, okay, any questions from the group at all? If there's not, then Reggie, if you could, I know that we told you we would postpone this a week, but if you could just let us know briefly.
Oh, yes.
On the choir programs, the funding there, and also the concern with the group here is the chorale still intact, whether the leadership changes or not? Does the choir follow the leadership, or is the chorale still going to be intact despite what's been happening? And does your application is it still relevant? Do we need to fund it? Are we going to fund a choir that doesn't exist, or does it still exist in full? So we have some questions about that as we review the applications for the choirs.
So we have been, we became aware of some of these issues a few weeks back. So we've been working on some changes before you guys were made aware of it for a while here. And we have a new, we have an artistic director who's going to take over the management of the group. We have a new choir director. We have an accompanist. We have been putting the word out for, I'm sure we'll lose some with these changes, members of the choir, but we have others who are interested. We've been reaching out, and we feel very confident, totally confident that this choir will move forward with new leadership and maybe some new members as well. But absolutely, totally confident. I mean, what's interesting is there's a lot of talent out there. And when we put the word out, if we lose a conductor or we lose a program manager, we've been very surprised at how quickly we can fill those slots with very capable people. And we respect their position to have a different vision, and individuals move on and come and go in every organization, right? But we feel like we will definitely, we're planning on the concert going forward. We have a concert planned for May 14th, excuse me, yeah, May 14th. It'll be the chorale and the youth choirs together. Should be able to do that concert just fine. And then we'll be setting up for our next concert for the chorale would be in the fall. And we have no problem with by then having a full complement of choir personnel and all of the positions. I mean, they'll be filled right away, but the whole organization will be fully operational and moving forward. So to answer your question, we'll definitely be able to use those funds that we're asking for in the coming year.
Any other questions from the group? Reggie, thank you for your time 2 weeks in a row. We appreciate your presentation. And
thank you.
We will let you go at this time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yep.
Camden, do we have Wasatch Contemporary in the waiting room?
Yes, we do. I will let them in right now.
Good. And who is our representative?
Jessica Heaton.
Jessica, welcome.
Hi.
The time is yours. You have 10 minutes to go through your application.
great. Do I just share my screen with my presentation?
Or give to Camden, either way. So whatever you want to do.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect. There it is. Do I just tell you when to click?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. So yeah, hi everyone. I'm Jessica Heaton. I'm the director of Wasatch Contemporary Dance Company. I've been doing this for 11 years now. We just had our dance company's birthday this month. So exciting milestones. Yeah, so we rehearse in Provo. That's where we have donated a studio space, but we have performed all over Utah County. And this weekend we have our first show in American Fork, which was made possible through PARC funds last year. So we're excited to have American Fork, on the map for us and have it be a place that we call home as well and perform here for American Fork residents. So yes, the project today I want to talk to you about is having guest choreography commissioned by Kamla Sompan. You can go ahead and click for me, Camden. Thank you. So Kamla is, as you can see here, just a very decorated dancer and choreographer. Probably of all the choreographers we've worked with, probably one of the most experienced that we've had the opportunity and privilege to connect with. As a director myself, what I really look for when I'm choosing these guest choreographers to work with my company is that they're doing new and exciting things now, but they're also really grounded in like codified, strong, historical, modern and contemporary dance styles. So I love that she's trained in Horton technique style, which is just a beautiful and really athletic dance form that my own company really gravitates towards. So that is part of the reason why we like to choose her. The funds specifically will be used to bring her here to Utah. She's based in San Diego right now. So bring her here for about a week where she'll work with our own dancers and set a new work that will be shown in April 22 at the Valentine Theater. We are under contract there already for that. So that venue and dates are secured. And Kamla will also have the opportunity to teach in the community while she's here. So we always help line up for our guest choreographers, universities that want them to teach, dance studios, and just give them as many experiences as possible to have them in the community, influencing people here and, having their benefit expand and extend beyond just our own company. And you'll see the breakdown there below, which just mirrors what I put in the application as well. Go for it, Camden. Thanks. So I was specifically asked to talk about why commissioning a guest choreographer would serve the residents in American Fork. And I think the bottom line is just that bringing in new people always helps us to learn from each other. Artists really need to continue their education, including my own dancers and myself. We need to have these people come in and learn from their experience, because if not, we're kind of just remaking the same stuff over and over again with our own abilities. So it's really important for my dancers to be able to learn from those different perspectives and experiences. Kamla is from Laos, the country of Laos. And I just love her own cultural background and how that influences her dance as well. And I think it's important that Utah be a front runner in creating opportunities in the arts for people of color as well. So I love to see that increasing here in Utah and to be able to help with that as well. And she will help diversify the art scene. So I think that for all patrons that come and watch her piece in our show, or any artists or creators that take class from her, that just helps everyone to diversify their own art. And as we take in those influences from other people, it kind of just adds to the vibrancy of our whole artistic community. Lastly, we would just love to share a wonderful city with a new tourist. So we've brought in many guest choreographers over the years from out of state to work with us. Many times it's their first time visiting Utah. We've had some funds from Orem Care that have helped make this possible in the past as well. And so we love to tell them all the best places to eat in that city and where to go hiking. And in the end, we've really ended up with a lot of people that love Utah and want to come back and visit again. We think it's just great to be able to kind of brag about American Fork. And I live in Lehigh personally, and so I'm always in American Fork. it's just a great area that we would love to yeah, help, gain another tourist for you guys. The goals of our venture here are fourfold. Primarily, we do this because we do want the experience for our own professional dancers. We want them to be able to expand their own resumes and experience by learning from these highly decorated choreographers. We measure that by surveying our dancers after the residency. So the survey just asks and kind of gauges if they were challenged, if this is an artist we'd like to work with again in the future. And that just helps us to make sure we're on track as we choose the right choreographers to come and work with our dancers. We also have a goal to offer the best residency that we can to our guests. And we also issue a survey to our choreographers so they can let us know how we're doing with our policies and our procedures during the residency, everything from communication to payment, the application system, and how they feel they were, treated with respect from the dancers, and if the dancers stack up compared to other dancers they've worked with across the nation. It's really helpful for us to be able to gauge how we're growing and progressing as a company. Another purpose or goal for this project is because it does attract new audience members. A lot of times just a big headliner name will really pique interest and help people to come to the show. We do have, higher audience numbers when we're able to bring in some of these really awesome choreographers. Number of patrons will depend on COVID, so we're just kind of waiting to see how that goes. But right now, the Valentine Theater is forging ahead, assuming they'll have to keep the half capacity for a while. So if that's the truth, and we have 2 shows, we're hoping for 450 patrons that will be able to watch her piece in the show. And lastly, we want to create thought-provoking choreography for the community to enjoy. Obviously, we can't survey every person that comes to the show. That's not really practical, but we do have 2 different ways that we've devised that really help us with this. The first is that we have an advisory board, which is made up of dance and non-dance professionals, and they come to a few rehearsals to see works in progress and give us open feedback. They don't have decision-making power, but we do try to apply at least 50% of what they've brought to our attention. And that's really helpful for helping us gauge how we'll be interpreted by the audience and how it will be received by our community. And then we always have a ticketed dress rehearsal, just a small audience that we also issue a survey to. And that gives us a read kind of for last minute changes. We just had one last night actually at the Northampton House to prep us for our show this weekend. So that's always really helpful to just see what kind of last minute changes we can make to really help the show appeal to our audience and connect with them. And these are photos from the Northampton House where we'll be performing this weekend. So we're excited to have our first inaugural performance in American Fork. We're almost sold out of our physical tickets, which were obviously limited because of COVID. And then we have unlimited live streaming as well. So we're excited. We like the reception so far that we'll probably end up selling out this show, and that feels really great. So what kind of things can I answer for you guys?
Thank you, Jessica. Any questions from the group?
I do have a question. If I wanted to watch the live stream, where would I go to get a ticket?
Great. If you go to wasatchcontemporary.com, you'll just go to the button that says buy tickets, and there's 2 live stream shows. They're through Facebook because Facebook right now will give the creators 100% of the proceeds. They don't take a cut of it. So that's who we're using, but we have webcams and encoding software, and we've tested it out. So it's gonna run smoothly. It should run great. But yeah, it's through Facebook. And if you go to our website, it'll take you to all the right places for that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Well, if there's none, Jessica, thank you very much. Well done on your presentation, and we will give due consideration to your application.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Jessica. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Camden, do we have Summerus or Spencer queued up?
Yes, we do.
We're a little bit early, so we can just start. We can just save 5 minutes.
Where would I go to get a ticket?
Great. If you go to Wasatch Contemporary.
Little feedback loop. Oh, I just let him in. They were probably watching the video since they were in the waiting room. What was it? Sorry, guys.
Summerus and Spencer, we're okay. We're a little bit early, so we want you to start early.
You are muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Okay,
Oh, hi.
here we are.
My question is, where's the baby?
My mom's watching her right now. She's quite vocal. She's a singer. And so when she sees people, she starts performing.
talk to
So we thought it was best that she not join us for
Go ahead and press forward with your presentation then.
Awesome. Well, I think, let me just see. Well, we wanted to, first of all, thank all of the PARC Tax Advisory Board and the city staff for allowing us to present to you tonight. As many of you know, I'm Summerissa Stevens. I'm the president of Harrington Center for the Arts. And with me is Spencer Stevens, vice president of Harrington Center for the Arts. And we just are so grateful for this amazing program. The PARC Tax Program has allowed our organization to create incredible programming that truly wouldn't have been possible otherwise. You can go to the next side, Camden. So we just wanted to quickly touch, 2020 was actually a huge year of growth for our organization, despite the challenges of COVID. And so through the PARC tax funds and through other sponsorships that we were able to gain prior to COVID hitting, we held our events, as many as possible that we could in person. And we were able to directly support 314 artists who had been impacted by COVID-19. We had 2 new programs that were adapted to comply with COVID and offer streaming. And then we also had over 208 active volunteers in 2020. So it was a great year for our organization. The 6 programs that we're presenting on tonight are Fork Fest, Chalk It Up, The Walls, Concerts in the Park, Exploration of New Works, and then the American Fork Sculpture Exhibit. So many of you already know what Fork Fest is. It's a one-day music festival that is created to feature the nationally renowned artists that helm from Utah, as well as provide a stage for the next generation of artists. We're actually partnering with Alpine School District with the PTA. I guess it's not just the Alpine School District. There's a PTA Battle of the Bands, and the first 2 opening spots are going to be reserved for the winners of the Battle of the Bands throughout Utah. Next, so this is for this year. We are requesting funds for 2022, so not to get you confused, but this year we're holding the event on June 19th. Pending COVID restrictions, we'll have anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 in-person attendees. And same as last year with 28 bands across 3 stages, super family friendly with vendors and food trucks. And these are some pictures. Brian, you'll recognize the foam pit. I know your grandson spent a lot of time in the foam pit during last year's festival. Just wanted to share a really cool story. So last year we had a blind woman approach us at Fork Fest. She came with her guide, and she specifically wanted to find the festival directors because she wanted to thank them for holding Fork Fest in 2020. And she said that the unique vibrations of live music help her to feel alive and also help her to feel like she's a part of the community. And so that was a pretty cool experience to have someone with accessibility needs approach us. And then there's just one more picture. This is that acoustic stage, super intimate and really fun vibe. And then we have our funds list. And so this is pretty straightforward. It's a small portion of what the festival actually costs. And so, yeah, are there any questions on that before we move on to the next?
No questions, proceed.
Okay, so our next one is Chalk It Up. Chalk It Up actually ended up being the largest chalk art festival in the state of Utah last year. It had 96 competing artists, and then we had over 6,000 attendees, which was pretty cool for our second year of Chalk It Up. You can go to the next one. So this is for this year. This is what the PARC grant is looking at, actually 2021, as it's in July. We anticipate having over 8,000 in-person attendees, over 100 competing artists, and of course, keeping it super family friendly and offering free classes to the public. These are just some photos. So you'll see on the far left, this was during the chalk art class. We offered an amateur and a professional chalk art class. And then you'll see some of the works to the right. And then the next slide shows this was the winning Still Days piece. So this is about 7 feet by 7 feet. So it really was amazing. Each of the artists spent about 30 hours on their piece in the super hot sun. It was pretty awesome. So here's our program funds. There was some questions as far as why there was an increase, especially in equipment rental. So one of the things, the Parks and Rec department came back and said that they didn't feel comfortable with us using the baseball diamonds at Art Day Park this year. Because of that, we have been working with a few different companies, with Woodbury Corporation, to determine where in American Fork we're going to hold this year's event, but it'll most likely be on asphalt. Actually, 100% it'll be on asphalt. And unfortunately, July 8th through 10th is extremely hot. We had tried to do it on asphalt the year prior, and if I know Laurel attended and other people, but it was so hot for these artists who spent 30 hours on that black top. And it kind of became a little bit of a safety concern. And so what we're looking at with this equipment rental, because it will have to be on asphalt this year, is artist and also attendee shade structures, just tents that will shade the artists when they need and attendees, so to prohibit anyone from getting heat stroke and keeping everyone safe. So this is for the American Fork Concerts in the Park, continuing the beloved tradition of the concerts in the park at the Quail Cove Amphitheater. So this summer, we're going to offer 5 free nights of live music, and we're requesting something similar for 2022. We're really excited about this season. You can go to the next one, Camden, because what we've done with this already existing program is we've really catered every single week to being something that's very different and appealing to American Fork attendees and residents. So for instance, we're starting with Joshua Creek, then we have the American Fork Marching Band, then we have Ryan Shoup and the Rubber Bands, then we have One Voice Children's Choir who's coming, and then we want to finish it off with a Pirates and Princess Night where people can bring their grandchildren and they dress up and they come and sing along to Disney songs that are performed by professionals. And we're planning on having like a balloon artist there who can do that for families as well as magic. So the goal is to really provide a variety so that way people want to come back week after week. These are just some pictures from the past. And so we are requesting looking at 2022 specifically. And so this would be for June and July of next year.
And so to answer your question on, what are we doing with the rollover? So this last cycle, we were awarded 5,500. So that we are asking for those funds to be rolled over to next cycle so that we can cover the expenses past June 30th. So for this year. And this 13,750 would be for the full season that would straddle the June 30th deadline. So we would also, either we could solve that a couple different ways. It could be put in our contract that these funds plan on being extended automatically, or they could be requested to be extended anything that we don't expend by June 30th, 2022. Yeah. So that's where we're trying to solve that issue specifically with this program request.
So the 13,000 is in addition to the 6,000, right? Rollover.
Yeah, right. This would be the cost of the full series, but it straddles 2 park cycles.
Yeah, because basically we have the funds for this summer
season.
June and July, and so it'd be for next summer.
Was there any other questions with that? Okay, so our next program is The Walls. So it's a free public mural exhibit that provides the public and artists alike to enjoy an outside art museum with murals painted by local and professional amateur artists. And this year in particular, we're looking at commissioning a piece by Eric Dowdle to depict our city, American Fork. The sustainable steel design of these structures allows for new artwork to come up twice a year biannually. We have about 1,000 people attend this outdoor exhibit each year. That includes the unveiling ceremonies, as well as people that come and just view it on their own time. We can support 16 artists each year. Those are the artists of the murals. And we always include opportunities for young aspiring artists to work alongside professionals. Here's some photos from the unveiling ceremony, and the one on the right is from last fall's Halloween themed unveiling ceremony, where we had pumpkin painting and people could wear their costumes and trick or treat. And so we have been speaking with Eric Dowdle. You can go to the next slide, Camden. So Eric Dowdle is a local professional artist that paints this unique folk art style. You probably know him from his puzzles. So we would like to work with him in commissioning a piece that represents American Fork City. And we want to work with the city, the local businesses, the residents, and holds a few different workshops to basically decide what we would like represented in this painting. We could showcase our historic buildings, our culture, our food, families.
The mayor mentioned even the track station.
Yeah. We have the river, the lake, the mountainscape, notable buildings like
the hospital.
Yeah, the temple, the hospital, the historic buildings in downtown. So we would come together as a community to create this piece of art together, and we would sort of be the sponsoring organization, and we would exhibit this piece, either blow up a version on one of the walls for the community to enjoy, as well as if we're commissioning a certain size piece, we can then display that in the library or the rec center, other places where residents can enjoy this unique piece of artwork. You can go to the next slide. Here's some recent examples. He sent us the pieces he's done. Altaview Hospital, UVU, and the Boy Scouts of America did a piece of one of their camps.
Of Mapledale.
Yeah. You can go to the next slide. Here's just one of his pieces he's done in Utah.
That's Orem.
So the walls, there were some questions about whether this falls under a capital expenditure, and I wanted to kind of touch on that here and with our next program request. In typical accounting practice, and as far as equipment goes, each company individually will set its own capitalization policy, and they will look at a fund threshold as well as some useful life to determine whether that will be expensed or capitalized and carried forward as an asset and depreciated. It's up to each individual company to determine that policy. So I know this board is looking at trying to figure out where that lies, and there obviously is some gray area in the Utah code with what falls under that. In Orem, their CARE program, I was been asking them, they have basically set the policy that if it's related to a building or a structure, then it's considered a capital expenditure. But if it's equipment, they allow it. And so they've allowed some of their theaters, Hale and Sarah,
soundboard,
lighting equipment, things like that. So it's up to obviously this interpretation of this committee to determine that as well. So let me just explain how this program works. So we don't pay the artists that participate, draw commissioned pieces and do pieces at the walls, nor do we charge them. What we do is we help subsidize the cost of the creation of their work. So it's similar to other visual arts programs where we're providing canvas and paint supplies for them to create a piece, and then they take that home. So the artists own these pieces, we help them create it, and then we exhibit it. And when the exhibit is finished, they own those pieces. So they can take those, and we've had artists put them in galleries or sell them. It's theirs. And so that's how this program works. So we don't capitalize these pieces of art at all. It's just merely expenses that we use to support these artists.
And they're operating expenses because it's a day-to-day operating expense, because it doesn't retain value. After the 6 months, it's been outside. And so we have to completely replace the boards every 6 months. And so it just has to be looked at, and it's just a large canvas. Same way we supply, I know in the past, the PARC program has supplied paint or building materials for theater sets, same as, with different visual arts programs, their paint supplies, it's the same thing, just on, I guess, a larger scale because it's outside. But yeah, they don't retain their value after 6 months. They can't be outside anymore because of weathering. And so it is a day-to-day expense. Also, we're kind of at a crucial point with the walls because this year especially is really important. SunPro, who has donated the boards in the past, cannot do so anymore because of the increase in cost in lumber. And then also Sherwin-Williams, there is a ingredient that is in low stock and high demand right now in paint. And so they're having a hard time supplying all of their paint needs. And so that means that for this exhibit and for this next year that we're going to have to completely fund the walls on our own, which would be really difficult as it's not something that's revenue generating. It's just something that's free for the community. And so that's especially somewhere that we could really use help with that, just because the people who have helped sponsor this in the past aren't able to right now because of the shortages.
And then I just wanted to comment that Eric Dowdle's fee is higher than 10,000. His fee is somewhere around 40,000. So we're asking for a part of that to be sponsored by the Park Tax program, and then we would fundraise for the remaining part of that fee.
Talking to local businesses and things like that.
So this is an exciting new program that we have. So we're calling it the American Fork. What are we calling it?
I think we called it the American Fork Sculpture Exhibit.
Sculpture exhibit. Okay. So we plan on exhibiting some up and coming sculptors and giving them the opportunity to have their sculptures cast in bronze and enjoyed by the public and showcased to our community. And because of the 4 foundries that are in Utah County, bronze is this is a hub for bronze work, and that's something that we can really showcase to our local community that I think a lot of people don't know. You can go to the next
Which
slide.
is super rare. It's really exciting.
These photos are from Ben Hammond working on a piece. He moved to American Fork because he wanted to be a sculptor. And so he lives here because of this kind of support system that's here for bronze sculptures. So what we're looking at doing is we would build 4 pedestals. That's not something that the Park Tax would be funding. And we can place them, the places are yet to be determined. We could place them near the Harrington School. We could place them on city property as well. But they're pedestals that are designed so that the sculptures are fixed to them for a temporary period, and then the sculptures can be rotated. So we would have 4 of those. They would be exhibited for a year, and then we would have 4 new pieces. And so Ben has worked really hard and approached us on collaborating with this idea to really support these up and coming bronze sculptors, because really the obstacle is it's so expensive to cast something in bronze that the barrier to entry for an aspiring sculptor is really high. And so we would help subsidize some of those initial costs to get one of their pieces out in the public.
Yeah, so we could work with the city and see if there's different areas, even in Robinson Square, in the Robinson Park or other areas. Doesn't have to be outside the Harrington School, but just basically, kind of like you see in St. George, the art around the corner, where you have these pedestals that Harrington Center for the Arts would build and maintain and cover the cost for those capital expenses. And then it would just be part of the material cost.
You can go to the next slide. Here's just some examples of what it would look like. There would be a pedestal and then the sculpture would be exhibited. The center one is one of Ben's piece. Go ahead. And so what we're asking for is just a small portion of this program cost. So in part of the bronzing process, you have to the artist creates their piece first out of clay or wood or whatever. And then a mold is created around that, which is then taken to the foundry, and then they actually create a separate mold and then they cast it in bronze. So this is some materials that we would help subsidize. And Ben Hammond said any cost beyond this during the casting mold process, he would cover himself or his studio.
In time, yeah.
And then, so these molds would be owned by the artist, just like what we were talking about with the walls. It's not actually an asset of Harrington Center for the Arts, but we help them in their creation process to support those artists. You can go to the next one. This is oh, thank you. This is our last program. It's the exploration of new works. We just had our first event last week. It's meant to support local writers, dramatic writers that are writing plays and musicals. The idea is just to give them a forum and a workshop to put some of the material on its feet and receive feedback before deciding next best steps for their plays and musicals. And it was a great success. And you can go to the next slide. Here's just some photos of last week's workshop.
No, so we had a Broadway producer, a Broadway writer, and a Broadway director that gave feedback to the 3 writers.
And then those are just some of the costs to help get this program on its way. And thank you so much for your support. As we said before, the Park Tax is an amazing supporter of Harrington Center for the Arts, and we appreciate it. Any questions?
Questions for Samarissa and Spencer?
I have a question. With the Dowdle part, does that commissioned piece become a puzzle that's available for sale? And is that a potential revenue source that is already included in this proposal? Or
I said that you can pay more to have it turned into a puzzle. Right now, we've just been looking at like commissioning the piece, but that might be a way to help, especially like get other businesses to get involved and want to help sponsor the remaining cost, is by, you know, having it turned into a puzzle. And I think the goal for us is to have a sense of community pride, especially displayed through art, something that people can buy and put in their home and feel proud of being a member of American Fork. Eric doesn't do every city. He actually tries to stay away from cities that are close to ones he's already done. And so we were surprised and also really excited that he wanted to do American Fork. And he said it was because American Fork has so many historical assets, unlike other cities. So.
Thank you. Other questions?
how much plywood is needed for the walls that you're not getting donated now?
So it's 16 per exhibit. So it's each mural is made up of 2 4-foot by 8-foot sanded plywood boards, ACX boards. And so, of course, that cost just adds up because it's 16 per time. And normally, like we said, SunPro in the past has been able to, but right now we're having to front that cost, which is hard since it's not a revenue generating exhibit.
The president of SunPro just walked past my office. We're in the same building. I'm going to go work him over.
Yeah,
talk
you
to
do that.
Yeah. Yes, Scott has connections there, so hopefully if anybody can make this work, Scott can.
Great.
Other questions for Samarissa and Spencer?
Just along the same veins, does Eric Dowdle retain the picture, the mural, or is that do we keep that as a commissioned artwork?
American Fork can keep that as, and so we could talk with the city and say, you know, should that be in like the administration building or should that be at the American Fork Rec Center? I think our goal is just for us to help make it happen with that. And so for the walls, how that relates to the walls is once it's finished, they take like a really nice picture and we can stretch it over canvas and put it on one part of the wall. So anyone from the community can come and see it and, you know, look at the map that's on it.
Other questions? Well, we thank you both for your time and for your presentation and also for your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful to see your smiling faces. You're so energetic when it comes to what you're doing and the expansion of your program. So we applaud you for doing so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Camden, do we have Friends of the Library waiting?
Yeah, I believe Cassandra is going to represent them, and she snuck in as a co-host. And so she is already here.
Yeah.
Cassandra, the floor is yours.
All right, great. Okay, so I'm not going to go too far into the grants that we applied for the dictionary project and the book fairy, because that's something we do yearly. Does anybody have any questions about those or thoughts?
Nope.
All right, great. Go ahead. Okay, so the other two that we applied for are, let me pull them up really quick, but there are Balcony Art Gallery and a mural commission, an annual mural commission. So for the Balcony Art Gallery, we would like to be able to get kind of a great collection of art that we can put up and feature, and they would be local artists. We are asking for funds to pay for their work and to pay for a consultant. And then also we're asking for funds to help us with the installation. And after talking to Sherilyn, we realized that we needed to split that out. The Friends of the Library would take the cost of the artwork and the program itself, and then the funds for the installation and the furniture to be able to enjoy it. That would be a capital type of project. Camden, do you have the list of how I split that out? There you go. So it's basically around $5,500 for the art part, and then $4,000 for the setup, and then the furniture and everything like that. Have any of you been able to come to the library and see the gallery that we have upstairs? So
that would be a no.
okay. So we have a monthly rotation through several different local artists. And so we would like to have something that's kind of recognizably ours that we bring out yearly that kind of shows off a variety of artists. And it would be owned by the Friends of the Library and be housed here. So that's kind of what we're asking for. And then the cultural facility part just allows us to more easily rotate our collections and also view them. We'd like to, in addition to seating, we'd like to also include tables and furniture for possible sculptures and just more flexibility in what we can do with the gallery. So do you have any questions or thoughts about that?
No questions, move forward.
All right, great. Okay, so the other one is, so if you've ever been to the library, we do have a big wall where we have brick from the old building that was built in 1968. And right now we have some very old paintings and plaques that are up there. And we're interested in kind of moving those to more of a historical area of the library, and then updating that wall and showing off some local artists. So we would like to start a yearly mural commission that would be, people would apply for it, and then we would select an artist and they would create it, and it would be up for a year, and then we would do the whole thing again. And that request is for $5,600. That's a great picture of it. Thanks, Camden. So you can see that, and the dimensions would fit over what is there so we could place it up there without destroying the wall or hurting it by taking off these plaques that are kind of welded into the brick. So we were trying to think of a good way to show off the wall a little better, but to update it and make it really beautiful. We would also include in our contracts that we could use that art in a digital format to advertise the library and just kind of have something interesting to see every year. It would have a great picture of the PARC grant logo with a big thanks to you guys with it included. So people would know it was from you guys. Any questions or thoughts about that one?
The plaques will stay put and you'll work around. They'll tell me how that's going to be laid out again on that wall.
Right. So since it's a curved wall, we measured it and it's just over 12 feet wide. And the area we want to cover is about 4 feet tall. So we would ask people to submit something that would be 3 panels. So it could hit a curve around and kind of filled the dimensions, but worked also with our style in here. It's very, we have a lot of windows, so it would kind of mirror it. We're hoping it would be a really good complement to the rotunda.
So who owns the art once you put it up in the library and it's there for a year? Who owns that?
So we would put in the contract that we own it for the year. We display it and then they get it afterwards. We don't really have space to have, I don't know what we could even do with them once they're taken down. We get a good collection.
We may have an Eric Dowdle mural that we could transport and move inside.
Yeah, they were suggesting places to go, and I'm like, we've got a spot. We've got a few spots if they're interested. That'd be fun.
That would actually be a really cool permanent exhibit in the
It
library.
really would. Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Maybe you guys can coordinate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cassandra, any other presentation elements you want to cover?
I don't have any more about that. The other one I was going to talk to you guys about is the children's programming room, and that's with the city.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just go ahead and start on that one?
Are you ready? Is that queued up for you, Camden?
Let's wait till the city's, if you're done with the Friends of the Library, then let me bring in everyone else who's going to be talking about the city stuff.
Okay, let's do it.
Good.
Any more questions for Cassandra before everybody else is brought in? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm bringing in Jason and Derek. Derek, I think, is on the phone. Let's see. Okay. Derek, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Jason, are you there as well?
He's on mute.
Yeah, Jason, you're on mute if you're there.
I'm here.
Okay, good.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Start 10 minutes early, so we're glad you're here. So take it away.
Let me share the screen. Let's see. Okay. So I guess we'll kick it off. Just representing the city, we have a number of people here just because the city's made up of a number of different departments, each serving different functions, but each can really create some value for our residents through the park tax. And so I'm gonna just probably tee all of them up and let them go forward and talk. We have 20 minutes for this presentation. I think I just wanted to start this way with just the prioritized request of funds. So we have here this is, if we could only choose, based off a prioritized list, this is what we would choose. And it's really tough. We wouldn't necessarily say we don't prioritize, we don't have a high priority for trails, but with this prioritized list, we really have the first 4 are ones that represent either obligations that we feel like we need to follow through with, or timing issues where we have an opportunity we want to capitalize on. And so with that, I'm just going to probably turn it over to at least Jason initially to go over the first item. Go ahead, Jason.
All right. This is an item that you guys have seen before. This is, our bond payment for the art dye project, ongoing project. And it's been a great project so far, and the results have been great. I know we've had a lot of great feedback from residents on the improvements, and we've seen just the amount of people up there has grown significantly, and it's really become a mecca for a lot of people doing a lot of things, and so it's been a great project. And so as you can see there, the last bond payments in 2028. PARC program ends in 2023. I am hopeful and confident at the same time that this PARC program will continue and be re-voted in. I hope the citizens can see a lot of good that's coming from this program. So it's been just been a wonderful thing for Art Dye and for the community.
Okay, thanks, Jason. Sorry to jump around a little bit, but I was going in order of the prioritized list. So the next one would be the children's room. So Cassandra, would you mind touching base now?
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to thank you guys for hanging in with us on this. We found out that we would receive the money last year in February, and as you know, in March, everything fell apart, and so we've spent several months scrambling, and we're finally getting back to this. We have estimates from 3 different companies that can do the architectural design and the construction. They all recommended that we go up to $170 per square foot, and that the engineering costs went up. So this was our estimate to add another $50,000. And we have all of their requests and everything. If you guys need to see them, this is just a really easy way of looking at it. But yeah, it's the same project, and we found a great place that has done children's libraries, and so it would look really great, and it would just be a really awesome addition.
Thank you. We're going to turn it back over to Jason to talk about the dog park at Art Dye.
All right. So we are over the last, this has been building momentum over the last couple of years. We've seen a large increase in, I guess, maybe dog ownership and dog usage in parks. And, we love dogs. But they do come at a kind of not a cost, but they do have their drawbacks when maybe responsible ownership doesn't go along with it. We're seeing a lot of off-leash usage, and it's causing some issues, especially up at Art Dye with the open nature of the park. It's really inviting for dog owners to come up and just turn their dogs loose and just let them run. Some are responsible in the way that they do clean up after their dogs. Some others are not. Recently, we just had a person call to the police department and express some concern and over this situation. And we see dog groups meet up there where you could have. I've had reports of 30 to 50 dogs at a time off leash running around, and it creates some issues with the soccer fields and not cleaning up after their dogs. And so our proposal here is, and I would assume you've seen our map. Cam and I have been working on this, and my philosophy with this dog park is let's make the biggest, best dog park we can to invite people to want to use the off leash inside the fence dog area as we can. We want to invite them to come in the dog park where they can be off leash instead of using the large grass area to the south, or our new ball fields. As you can see from the map, we kind of created a design where we're able to keep the playground intact for the kids to use. It's away from the trail, but easily accessible from the parking lot. As you can see, we have 3 different areas. We have a grass area to the east, and in the middle, this is a large tree area or forested area that's really cool. We're going to do some cleanup in there and kind of clean up, and it's got a pretty high canopy and really open area that be really neat for the dog owners to walk through there and let their dogs run. And then over to our west, there's a dirt area, and we put what's called a material called a hard pack down that we used at our Easton Dog Park. That it's a really good material, that feedback from dog owners at other dog parks is they've really liked it. Where in this area, we intend to put some agility features, some teeter totters, and some A-frame, obstacles for the dogs to go up and down. And so we're really excited about this. Along there, we like to put in, eventually put in a walking path, which you can see Camden is illustrated there in the gray that we'd like to start out with, and eventually work its way around where we can have some picnic tables and some benches for people to use. And I think this will be a really, really neat amenity for the people to use. And I'm hopeful and pretty confident that this will attract a lot of the dog owners and help us keep them in the fenced area and hopefully solve some of our problems. Now it won't solve them all. We have a lot of parks that people go and with their dogs, but we're hoping this will attract people, and I think it will. People really like dog parks. They like the social aspect of it, and they love their dogs. And I think this is going to be a pretty neat dog park that will gain a lot of attention. Along with this, there are some disc golf holes that are affected by this. The Camden and I have been working with some representatives from the Disc Golf Association in moving these holes to different locations. I've started getting bids on clearing out some fairways, if you will, through the trees to the east to create some new holes for them, and they're excited about those. And so we're working with them to continue to have a cool disc golf course, but have this dog park for the dog owners as well.
If I can just add a couple things, part of the reason of it's prioritized high up is because we want to capitalize on the opportunity. As you see, we're trying to complete the parking around the baseball fields, and this will be a great chance to also start designing the park frontage as well. Additionally, because of that, and because it's been a priority for some council members, the mayor specifically asked us to look into doing a dog park. That's another reason we're really focusing on this. And so as that, we actually have city funding that we're contributing to this as well. The total project really is $88,000, and we'll be doing $20,000 from the city to help with this as well. So that's some of the reasoning why it's prioritized as high as it is.
Hey, Jason, where is the section for the irresponsible dog owners?
So what you see just to the south of the trail there, that we have that large soccer field area, that's where you see a lot of the dogs running. And so
can we somehow put an enclosed structure for the owners of the irresponsible dog owners? Can we put them some?
That's at the police department.
Yeah, there's no bad dogs, just bad owners.
A question, does the relocation of the disc golf, I know there's been some conflicts or challenges with the trail and the bike riders and some things back there and kind of overlapping and some problems. Does the relocation of holes or, disc golf holes for this exacerbate that problem or help that problem or what?
We have actually been working with the disc people already on that problem. We've actually eliminated the holes that require discs to be thrown across the trail. We've been able to revamp those a little bit to where no discs are being thrown across the trail. And these ones that we are creating, the holes we're creating further to the east in the trees will not affect the trail either. So we've been working with them. They're very, very willing, and they really value their disc golf course, and so they're very willing to make adjustments, and so I think we've been able to solve that problem. Now it might not, the holes themselves do not cross the path. I'm not saying that some irresponsible person might not still throw a disc somewhere that they shouldn't, but as far as the setup and of the holes go, we have taken those away from crossing the trail.
The money we want to put aside to help with the disc golf, kind of adjusting that, is really to keep them functionally at 18 holes. And then any additional funds out of this request that we're going to add additional safety features, signage or fencing or anything else we can do. Maybe even their tee box helping enhance those. But we probably will at future times be asking for funding to help do more of that. We're kind of wanting to really improve the disc golf course to make it it's an incredible course viewed across the state as one of the more complicated technical ones and really nice. And we want to keep it that way. And we want to enhance what's there and help better promote it. So we kind of need to make some improvements. But as we've seen, we need to make some safety ones too. We're not asking for all of that now. That's stuff we're going to probably ask for in the future though. Just FYI. Okay. Playgrounds.
So like in the past, we, like I've said before, most of our playgrounds, pretty much all of our playgrounds were installed in the same year back in 2005 with a PARC's bond that happened. With the trouble with that is all of those playgrounds have now, they're all at the same time starting to show their age, and we have a big need to start replacing these playgrounds. We've in the last couple of years, we've been able to replace the one at Robinson Park, the one at Rotary Park, and just really nice playgrounds, and people really enjoy the new playgrounds and what they bring. We love the safety aspect and the warranty that they bring. And so that's been good for us. Just a real quick example of what we're running into is we have a couple of 3-foot slides at a park that right now need to be replaced, and communicating with the vendor. Those actual slides now are, because of the age of the playground, that they're not being made anymore. And so we have to purchase a slide and a retrofit kit that basically redo the whole. Instead of just replacing the slide, we're replacing brackets, we're replacing the support post, which is costing us for a couple of 3-foot slides with shipping, we're looking at $2,000 just to replace those. And so that's kind of what we're running into. Our warranty is up on these playgrounds, and so trying to stay on this program of getting 2 playgrounds a year is our goal. I try and prioritize by usage of parks. Like I said, we've done Robinson and Rotary. Up next on the list, as you can see, would be Hunter Park and Evergreen Park. These are 2 very utilized and very well-used parks. The reason we're asking for this amount of money, in the past we've asked for funds through our capital, but this year we're trying to utilize some funds. As you can see, that we're in the works of a deal with the Alpine School District to retrofit some tennis courts at AF Junior High into pickleball courts. If you're around the park scene enough, you know the great demand for pickleball courts, and so that's an ongoing project that we're pretty sure is going to happen. It's going to be great for the school district and their usage of them, and then for us also. These playgrounds are great, and they do such great things aesthetically for a park, but people love the new playgrounds, and it brings an excitement to our parks when we build a new one. And so we're hoping to continue with this program of replacing 2 a year, and just kind of revitalize these playgrounds in our parks.
Like you said, we put one-time requests, and that's specifically to note that we don't typically ask for 2 playgrounds through the park tax, and we don't intend to do that in the future. We're just we can't ask for the pickleball courts because it's Alpine School District property. And so we're trying to move money around to make that a possibility. So the funding the city normally puts towards a playground, we're going to redirect towards the pickleball courts. All right, Derek, if you've got some time, if you mind going through the pool features.
Yeah, so we have a fantastic pool at the fitness center. It's heavily used. It's an Olympic pool, so it's basically flat water. We have a lot of swim team, a lot of adult swimmers, a lot of swim lessons. We'd like to add some fun features to the pool, things that would kind of engage the kids, teenagers, and even you'll see a lot of kids on these kind of things. So there's 3 different features. One is a Wibbit system, so it's kind of the obstacle course, where it's an inflatable system that you put in the pool, and the kids run up and down and fall off and splash around. And so that would be put in and out of the pool at various times. It could be used for pool rentals, when family reunions or companies want to rent the pool. It's something that we could add on to a rental. We would like to add a fun small slide for the younger ages, kind of the 10 and under over in the shallow end. And I put a frog. We could do a different animal if we wanted a dolphin or something, but just something fun, keep the kids engaged and entertained and things. And then the climbing wall would be kind of our third choice. It's a fun thing. It's a challenging feature to be able to add, which would be more in the deep end of the pool. And again, it would be open at select times and available for people. And then it could be made available for, pool rentals, family reunions, things like that as well. So these projects would be trying to add something fun, kind of make a splash in the pool, something people would notice and be able to use.
One question, Derek, and I think I forgot to mention this, but if you can speak to it, just the mobility of the climbing wall, that just be pretty easily pulled off of the edge, or is it mostly out of the way for like competition or other type stuff?
Yeah, so we would put it in a spot where during the summer, it would just be up all the time. So it bolts into the pool deck, you drop some anchors in, so it would stay up. We would take it down when we take the bubble down, then we would put it back up, when the bubble's up. And so it can come down, but it would stay up once it was installed.
So it's out of the way of the lanes that people may be using for practice. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I think we asked the question last time too about the obstacle course. Where would you store that because those lanes get used a lot for swim teams and.
Yeah, so it would be rolled up. We anticipate using it 3 days a week. So all day Saturday, Friday nights, and then either a Monday night or a Wednesday night.
So it rolls up, is that?
Yeah, so it basically inflates up, and then we would deflate it, and it rolls up, and then you put it off to the side, and then when you re-inflate it, it kind of expands into the section. There we go.
Derek, is the climbing wall, if you're familiar with it, is the climbing wall on par with the one that they have at the Lehigh pool? Is that kind of the model?
at their outdoor pool that they added?
Yes.
Yeah, same. Yeah, this is the same company.
Okay. Really popular at the outdoor pool. I've noticed. I mean, I've never been to the Lehigh pool, of course. I've just heard.
Heard about it. But yeah, same exact system.
So I'm thinking there is a slide in the small area for children, young children. There already is a slide there, isn't there? Would this be in place of what is there? I thought there was a little slide in the young section.
You're correct. There used to be. We haven't had it for a couple of years, and just have been wanting to put one back in. So it's kind of a unique space where it has to be a little bit custom made with the steps and things. And so we didn't replace that red one when we took it out.
Okay, thanks, Derek. Last is the frontage trail. Jason, would you mind touching base on this?
Yeah. So, you have the map there, and maybe just to orient you if you're not. This is on the frontage road south of I-15 between 100 East and 100 West. There is a need there for a safe route for the developments along 100 West to get up to Rotary Park, Centennial Park, even over to Lions Park. And along that frontage road, there is some gaps in sidewalk and curb and gutter. This project would shore up those gaps to provide a safe place for these people to ride a bike or walk and to navigate over to 100 East underneath the freeway. That yellow line going north and south, that would be an asphalt path that would connect with the existing asphalt trail that starts there just to the west of Greenwood Park. This project is a big priority for our Parks and Trails committee members. It helps connect some master plan trails to start putting those pieces together. And so, like I said, this is kind of a high priority item for some members of our Parks and Trails committee members.
Yeah. And like I said, I mean, it's not like it's not a priority to us. It's just relative to some of the other things that we're looking at right now. We know there's time commitments, there's current obligations to fulfill, like the Art Diet bond. There's just opportunities we want to take advantage right now. Okay, those are the projects. Any general questions?
So, go ahead.
Paul. Go ahead.
Okay. On the trail, it would be cement then that you're looking at, not asphalt?
So there's really, let me go back. Some of it's going to be, not too far. Some of it's going to be asphalt and some of it's going to be cement. If I have a laser pointer here, these are completing existing sidewalk. And so it'll be cement and it's going to match in with the width of what's there. However, you can even kind of see it. It almost looks like a wider road, but we have an asphalt trail. I think it's like 10 feet wide. And so we're going to take that existing trail of asphalt and continue it down here, do a crosswalk here, and then it'll connect into the existing concrete sidewalk. So this part will be asphalt. This part will be concrete.
Okay, I have another question.
Yeah.
I do ride my bike around town quite a bit and ride up, what street is that? 300 South? I don't know.
This is 100 East.
Yeah, now the next road up and going across there, where
Yes.
there is currently a trail.
Yeah.
And in a few other places in town,
Yeah.
like up along by the golf course where there's currently a trail. It's not really good to ride your bikes along those trails because there are so many puncture weeds. Is that something we're going to work on controlling down here? Because I know there are a lot of options. I guess some people call them goat heads, whatever they are. They puncture your tires.
We've been trying to stay ahead of the go heads along the main Ardeye Trail, coming down of Ardeye through town, and then that also we try and get out a couple of times a year to get ahead of them on those on that trail along the golf course. Also, yeah, it is an issue. We try and keep them weed whipped and back the best we can. It's just without the area around the trail being improved, it's just something that we try and stay ahead of. And sometimes people still get them, and other times we get them before they get to that point where they ruin tires. But yeah, I mean this here is in an actual sidewalk. On the back side, it is unimproved in some areas, which I believe would be private property. But this would create a good sidewalk that a person wouldn't, and then along the roadway would be patched also butted up to the curb. So there would be some good area that, hopefully a person wouldn't have any or weed issues along there. And underneath the freeway, there is no vegetation whatsoever. It's nothing's growing under there, so that wouldn't be an issue.
I ride under that all the time in the summer, so. Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question on this. Camden, do we have in the budget for some nice paint for that crosswalk and a signage right there so that everybody knows that's a crosswalk there to get from the storage unit side on the southwest corner over across to the northeast to go underneath the freeway? I've noticed some people get accelerating down that road and forget that that's an intersection. So
yeah, I put in an estimate for stripes, but I was thinking those like flashing lights that when you push the button they flash, and so it actually would be signage that would illuminate, it'd flash when someone wants to cross.
Like we have at Hunter Park. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind when I put it in the budget.
Maybe some good thermoplastic paint too, so it's very evident.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Other questions from the group? If not, Camden, Jason, and Derek, we appreciate your time and the presentation, and we will excuse you at this time.
To everyone, thanks, Cassandra.
Thank you.
For the rest of the park board, next Wednesday, did we decide 5:30 or 6 to do our first round of discussions? What works better for the group, 5:30 or 6?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay. Let's plan on that. So 6 o'clock, and we'll just do the same thing, and we'll just give our first iterations. What we've done in the past, sometimes we can discuss some of these things, but if you want to take your first stab at it, Camden usually drafts a spreadsheet, and we just fill in our suggestions, and then we submit those to Camden. He puts those all on the screen so we can kind of compare and see where there are large variances and where there are not. And oftentimes we'll focus our efforts on the large variances of projects and bypass those that seem to be have some consensus. So if that works for the group, let's start at 6. And between now and then, Camden, will you send out that worksheet to the group, and then we can just start playing with the numbers and seeing where they go, and then to send those to Camden before our meeting next week. Does that work?
Quick
Yes.
question, Brian.
Sure.
So I know we originally had discussions about whether or not some of these projects met the requirements, or if they were indeed capital improvements. Do we make that determination on our own, or is that something that we've already come to, that these all meet the requirements? And
Well, I think that the discussion today with some of the presenters was that if it's not a permanent fixture to a building or something, it was usually considered an expense and not a capital expense. So in this case, we can. I think the best thing has been with the instruments that we've allowed those to be something we would consider and pay for. So we've got a number of instrument requests here, and if we want to be consistent with the past 5 years, we could continue that and say, well, these are not permanently affixed to a building, so maybe they can be considered an operating expense. But we can change course if we want to do that, but I would just go with what's been submitted as if everything's permissible. And then in our discussion, we'll have to find out if Sherilyn feels that we should stay the course because of precedent, or if we should make a change or wait till we do the renewal at the 8-year mark. But consider that all of those things are eligible for PARC funding.
I kind of liked the definition that they said Orem has set up. I thought that was pretty clear. I liked that.
Yeah, oftentimes these are capitalized either furniture, fixtures, or equipment. And I think that, a fixture means something that is affixed to a building, or it's not portable.
Right.
And I think that makes sense. But I think this will be a good discussion to have. But I think that this library, they changed the nature of their submission. And I think, Cam, you had her take out what was a capital project versus an operating expense. And so she's done that. But in some of the instrument requests, like for the Wasatch groups, they have done those requests some instruments, and we've done that in the past. So to be consistent for now, let's stick with that unless we decide otherwise next week. So, 6 o'clock next week. Any other questions? Okay.
Is Lynn going to send us a sheet with the legal opinion on it like she's had in the past?
I would bet she would.
Yeah, she's always given us something in the past with their legal opinion on it. Is she able to do that again this year?
So, she went through them and kind of gave her opinion initially, but I think we've kind of worked through and gotten updated information. And so maybe before I send you the sheet, or maybe I'll send you guys the sheet, but I'll also send it to her and ask her if she can populate to the side of the data, her opinion on anything, so that you can have that as context as well. And then once I get that, I'll send it to you as well. Would that be helpful?
That would be great.
Okay.
Everybody, thank you for carving out a portion of your evening. And I'm sensitive to your time demands with your family. So go ahead and leave, and we will reconvene next week.
Thanks for being our fearless leader, Brian.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for everything, everyone.